Of Farah. We've just seen the One Nation leader Pauline Hanson flying in on her new multi-million-dollar private jet supplied by donors. She's speaking to the media now.
Michelle Milthorpe says there have been a lot of questions raised about her funding, but there's someone flying around in a $1 million plane. You're quite proud of that, aren't you?
I'm very proud of it. Is there any reason why I shouldn't? I was up front right from the beginning. Where the money came from, who donated it. I haven't needed anything. I've always been up front.
A lot of small business owners, especially here in Albury, have said that the main four candidates don't have a lot in the way of policies for small business owners. I mean, what can those who are still undecided, what can One Nation do for them in terms of in that regard?
Small businesses have been forgotten for for a long time. There's about 50,000 small businesses that gone under insolvent. A lot of it's been driven by the cost of living and also by regulations by not only local, state and also federal governments, the regulations that are imposed on them. And one of the biggest ones is also your cost of electricity. So they can't afford it anymore. So you've got a combination of increased land tax.
Before we continue, do us a little favour by subscribing to the channel, because over 98% of you watching haven't subscribed. It costs you nothing, not even a penny, to join this channel. Have you subscribed? Thanks so much.
Regulations, cost of living, electricity costs, and the industrial relations laws is another thing as well. So it's a combination of many, many things, and I don't believe the major political parties have really sat down and listened to small business and to hear what their issues are. We can't keep driving them into the ground.
Senator Hanson, your party's a hot favourite to win this weekend, and it would be your first win in the lower house, a historic moment.
Yeah.
Are you confident that Mr Farley will be able to hold on to that seat for you until the next election?
I have no doubt about it whatsoever. I know that David Farley, we've had many a talk. I've been on the hustings with him. I've walked around with him. I've listened to him, what he says. And I see him as a dedicated man that really wants to represent this community. He's been a businessman. He's across wide areas that I think he will bring a lot of benefit to for the people here, but also to the floor of Parliament.
Would you change the allegiances were the source of a scuffle down the polls yesterday, which you've addressed? Are you concerned that record will continue to follow him and you?
Sorry, can you just repeat that, what you've just said then?
His previous political allegiances were the source of a scuffle yesterday on the polls. Are you concerned that will continue to trail both him and you throughout his time in politics?
No, I don't. I'm standing by my volunteer in that whole scuffle. You know, when I first heard about it, I was just about to go on air with Chris Kenny and I didn't get the full story. Since then, I've been able to watch the full video clip of it, and I feel for my volunteer. Look, I take my hat off to all volunteers, regardless what political party you're out there trying to represent. And it's a tough game. I remember my father telling me years ago, politics is a dirty game. Well, haven't I seen the dirty politics come out, especially in this election? And you know what? People are fed up with it. Absolutely fed up, as I am. Because the people who are screaming out for change, they don't give a damn about the politicians. They really don't. It's about representing the people. That's what they want. And these gutter politics that's going on at the moment, you know what people want? They want change from the Labor and the Greens and the Teals. They want the Conservatives to work together. But all I see is this backhanded having a go, and it's not working. I don't do it. I don't get in the gutter like these other politicians do. The people don't want it. They won't get it from One Nation. But I tell you, I'm going to meet that volunteer and I'm going to shake his hand and I'm going to stand by him.
You hinted yourself at your own lower house tilt in the next election. Do you see this by-election as a bit of a test run for yourself potentially running down there in the future?
No, I haven't looked at it from that point of view at all. So it's a test run for every other sitting lower house member in this country.
Just in relation to small business, there was a local hotel that had their party booked in terms of your election party, and they're saying that they feel as though they've been let down by not having the booking with their hotel after having worked on it for weeks. What's your message to them?
Look, I've only just basically heard about that in the last couple of hours, so I haven't had a chance to speak to anyone with regards to it. My understanding is that there was some sort of a verbal agreement, and then it was actually changed, and the cost of it was actually completely blown out to what the original statement was. And so therefore, until I get further information with regards to that, and I think what was originally quoted is not what we were then finally told. So it's something I have to follow up with that and see who was actually involved in that. And I've been in small business before, and I can quite understand if you've had an agreement, they do go to a lot of work, and if that be the case, I do feel sorry for the venue if they've had to do anything, buying food or get staff and anything like that. But anyway, I'm yet to find out.
Well, they were saying they were just notified on Tuesday, so they're feeling as though only 4 days' notice has left them with stock and so on, and obviously plan to have the hotel occupied fully by your crew on Saturday night.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know who made the arrangements. Was another party involved in, changing the arrangements? I don't know until I find that out.
Where are you off to now, Senator? What's next on the agenda?
Where am I going, David?
We're going down to Adamshurst.
Right, there you go. He told you. I'm getting out of here, I'm cold.
So who flew your plane today?
Sorry?
Who was the pilot of the plane today?
It wasn't me, darling. No, I'm definitely not getting my licence either.
Well, fair dinkum. If you thought this week on the campaign trail was going to be all smiles, sausage sizzles and a few handshakes, think again. Because Pauline Hanson touched down in the electorate of Farrer, and before she'd barely had a chance to warm up, the questions were flying almost as fast as the cameras were rolling. 1 minute she was being asked about the aircraft she arrived in. The next, reporters were pressing her about small business, a polling day confrontation involving one of One Nation's volunteers, and whether her party really offers something different from the major parties. In other words, just another day in Australian politics. Now, before we get into the headlines, let's do something that's becoming rarer these days. Slow down for a minute and look at what was actually said. Politics can move at 1,000,000 miles an hour. A short clip goes viral, social media lights up, everyone has an opinion, and before you know it, half the country is arguing about something many people haven't even watched in full. So here's the full picture. As Pauline Hanson arrived in Farrer, reporters first asked about the donor-funded aircraft she has been using during the campaign. The question came after criticism from political opponents, who argued the aircraft had attracted public attention because of its value and funding. Hanson didn't shy away from the topic. She said she had been transparent from the beginning about where the funding came from and who had donated it. In her view, there was nothing to hide because the arrangements had been publicly disclosed. That response quickly moved the conversation onto another issue that has become central to almost every election campaign in Australia: small business. If you ask almost any cafe owner, mechanic, farmer, retailer or tradie these days, chances are you'll hear a similar story. Power bills are up. Insurance costs are rising. Staffing is harder. Customers are watching every dollar. Whether you're in regional Australia or one of the major cities, plenty of business owners say they're doing it tougher than they were a few years ago. That's the backdrop against which Hanson made her argument. She said small businesses have been overlooked for too long and pointed to rising electricity costs, government regulation, taxes, and broader cost of living pressures as reasons many businesses are struggling. Those concerns aren't unique to One Nation. Business groups across Australia have also warned about increasing operating costs and the pressures facing small and medium-sized enterprises, although different political parties propose different ways to respond. For Hanson, however, the message was simple. She argued that governments need to spend more time listening directly to business owners rather than assuming they already know the answers. The conversation then shifted from policy to politics. Reporters noted that One Nation had been attracting attention during the campaign and asked Hanson about her confidence in the party's local candidate. She spoke positively about his business experience and community involvement, saying she believed those qualities would help him represent local residents if elected. It was a reminder that election campaigns aren't only fought on national issues. Local candidates, community reputation, and grassroots campaigning often play a major role in shaping the outcome. But then came the question that many journalists had clearly been waiting to ask. The discussion turned to a polling day incident involving one of One Nation's volunteers. Footage of the confrontation had already circulated online, attracting strong reactions and competing interpretations. Asked about the incident, Hanson said she had since watched the available video and believed her volunteer deserved support. She also broadened the discussion beyond that single event. Hanson praised volunteers from all political parties, saying election campaigns can be demanding and emotionally charged. Whether someone volunteers for Labour, the Coalition, the Greens, One Nation or another party, she said they deserve to be treated respectfully while participating in the democratic process. That broader point is one many people across the political spectrum would likely agree on. Election volunteers are a familiar sight outside polling booths every election day, handing out how-to-vote cards and speaking with voters. While disagreements can and do occur, campaign organisers generally encourage volunteers to remain respectful and avoid unnecessary confrontation. Hanson argued that Australians are becoming increasingly frustrated with what she described as negative political campaigning. In her view, voters are more interested in hearing practical solutions on housing, the cost of living and regional services than watching politicians attack one another. Whether that assessment reflects the views of all Australians is of course open to debate, but there's little doubt that cost of living remains one of the country's biggest political issues. Every major party is trying to convince voters it has the better answer, and every campaign stop inevitably returns to the same questions. How do we make housing more affordable? How do we reduce pressure on family budgets? How do we support regional communities while keeping the economy growing? Those questions followed Hanson throughout the day, and they're likely to remain at the centre of Australian politics well beyond this campaign. As the media conference drew to a close, the questions became a little lighter, but the political message stayed the same. Reporters asked Hanson where she was heading next on the campaign trail. After checking with a campaign staff member, she joked about getting out of the cold before making another light-hearted remark when asked who had flown the aircraft. It was a brief moment of humour after a press conference dominated by serious questions about campaign funding, small business, volunteers, and the future direction of Australian politics. But perhaps that's what election campaigns are really like. 1 minute candidates are defending policy, the next they're answering questions about campaign logistics. Then, before you know it, they're on the road again, heading to another town, another interview, and another group of voters looking for answers. Away from the cameras, however, the issues discussed during the press conference remain very real for many Australians. Small business owners continue to face rising operating costs. Families are still feeling pressure from household expenses. Housing affordability remains a major concern for young Australians trying to enter the property market. Regional communities continue calling for more investment in infrastructure, health services and local jobs. These are the challenges that every political party says it wants to address. The difference lies in how they propose to do it. One Nation argues that stronger support for regional Australia, lower migration, reduced regulation and changes to energy policy would help relieve pressure on households and businesses. Labour says its policies are focused on easing cost of living pressures while investing in health, education, housing and infrastructure. The Coalition continues to argue that different economic settings are needed to improve productivity, lower costs and strengthen business confidence. The Greens and other crossbench parties also continue promoting their own approaches on housing, climate, taxation and social policy. Ultimately, it's voters who will decide which vision they believe offers the strongest path forward. That's what makes campaign stops like this important. They're not just opportunities for politicians to make speeches. They're opportunities for journalists to ask difficult questions, for candidates to explain their positions, and for Australians to judge those answers for themselves. Whether people agreed with Pauline Hanson or disagreed with her, the press conference added another chapter to an election campaign already dominated by debates over the economy, migration, housing, and the cost of living. As polling day draws closer, expect those conversations to become even more intense. Every interview, every campaign stop, every policy announcement, every debate, they all become part of a much bigger contest over the direction Australia should take in the years ahead. And one thing is certain, voters are paying close attention. Australians want practical solutions, clear communication, and leadership they can trust. Whichever party can convince enough voters that it understands their concerns will be in the strongest position when ballots are counted. For now, Pauline Hanson's visit to Farrer has once again put One Nation firmly into the political conversation, while reminding everyone that election campaigns are about much more than headlines. They're about competing ideas, public scrutiny, and the constant test of earning voters' confidence. So, what do you reckon? Did this campaign stop raise important issues that deserve more attention, or do you think the focus should have been elsewhere? Which policies do you believe matter most as Australia continues debating the cost of living, housing, small business, and regional communities? Share your thoughts in the comments below, but please keep the conversation respectful. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the latest political developments, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update from Australian politics. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.